Hey y'all, hey. Welcome back to the wedding tea. Did you miss me? Well, Desiree is back and I'm so excited to give you part 2 of Lost Her Mind. Let me sit this down. So where did we leave off? Oh yes, I remember. The bride was in the closet having a panic attack. 2 minutes after the ceremony was supposed to start. She's still not in her wedding gown. Photographer and videographer come in, they're just kind of in shock. I didn't know that the photograph the photographer took in that moment would actually be a photograph I needed a little later on down the line. We'll come back to that. Anyway, she is losing her mind. I got to go downstairs, let everybody in the wedding party know to go ahead and take a seat. Let the DJ know to keep playing some bomb music because this is going to be a minute. Bride eventually comes to herself. I don't know what they did. Maybe they gave her some smelling salt. Maybe they gave her a depressant. I have no idea. About an hour and 15 minutes late for the processional to actually begin because she had lost her mind. Yeah, an hour and 15 minutes. If you're a wedding planner, you already know we can make up 15 minutes. We can make up 20. And if you real good, you can make up about 30 minutes. But I can't. And I've been doing this 24 years. I cannot make up an hour and 15 minutes in a timeline. It's just impossible. Well, ceremony goes ahead and it takes place. And the bride and her now husband at the altar have committed themselves to one another, and they've kissed and everybody seems happy and gleeful. I got a problem, a real big problem. I contacted the venue and let them know what was going on, that we were a bit tardy. And so we were on the phone trying to make out a plan as to how we could build some time in and not affect dinner too much, and they would still be able to dance and have all that festivity that they wanted during their reception. All right, so I'm thinking I might be able to get a little bit of the time back, not all of it, but I'm working very hard, very diligently. Needless to say, ceremony is over. They take the photographs. We head on over to the reception venue. Guests are there. They're having their hors d'oeuvres. The bar is open. Things seem to be going well. But again, we're late. All right. Couple comes in. They want to go to the bridal suite and, have a moment to themselves. I'm like, no, we have to go. Like, there's no more moments. There are some things that I have to erase out of the timeline. She is adamant. I want to have time with my husband. You've got him for the rest of your life. I'm going to need you to have time with him after this reception. You know why? Because we're late. I had to give it to her with no chaser. We're late, boo. I got to make up this time as best as I possibly can because we've got a photographer. We've got a videographer. We've got a DJ. We've got the catering company within the environment. And all of them are on a specific timeline. There's a contract start time and there's a contract end time. And they do not care if we are super late. They're not giving you extra time unless you're paying for it. So, boo, you're going to have to spend some time with your husband after the reception. As a professional wedding planner, I'm doing everything I possibly can to make up as much time as I can. But to be honest, it was almost impossible. Again, it was an hour and 15 minutes late for the ceremony to start. We have to factor in travel. The couple had to still get their photographs. They had to come over to the venue. So now the time is just creeping up and it's becoming overwhelming for all of us, okay? Dinner is out, but it's late, all right? Photographer and videographer are trying to do what they are required to do contractually. But again, it's still very challenging. I tried to shift special moments within the timeline to have them happen within the courses, but it was still really, really hard because there's so much going on back and forth. So I talked with the photographer and the videographer, and they said, hey, our time is going to be up soon. Do you want to go ahead and ask the parents if they'd like to pay for us to stay a little bit longer? All right. So I go to the father and I says, hey, Dad. Well, not really calling him Dad, but I says, hey, the photographer and videographer, they're going to be departing soon. They want to know if you want them to stay. If they do, it's going to be at X amount of dollars. Well, Dad, at this point, he's like, look, honey, I have spent so much money on this wedding. I pretty much have remodeled my home. We're over here at this reception venue. Everything looks lovely, but hey, things happen. No, I cannot spend any extra money to keep the photographer and videographer here any longer. And I understood that. So I went on ahead and told the photographer and videographer that they could go ahead and depart at their contracted time. But because they were friends of mine, they decided to stay about a 15, maybe 20 minutes longer past their contracted time, just to try to get as much footage as they possibly can to create the best album. Needless to say, the bride was not happy at her reception. The groom is partying. He's with his guys. They at the bar. They like, what? We gonna make the best of it. But that bride, ooh. Now, I never mentioned that she was a Zilla, but the Zilla came out at the reception because the timeline was kind of obliterated. It wasn't much I could do. I attempted everything that I possibly could to, move things around so that we wouldn't lose so much time, but we lost about 2 hours of dancing, to be honest with you. And they only had 2.5 hours to dance per the timeline. So they had about 30 minutes left. And at that point, photo and video had also departed. So there were no images and video of the wedding party and family and friends and the couple just having a good time on the dance floor. All right, it happened. Reception is over. I go on back to my office. I live my life. I go ahead and direct other weddings. About 2 months later. Oh, did you think the story was over? No. About 2 months later, I received an email from the Better Business Bureau from the bride with her new, now last name, in which she was complaining about my services, saying they were unprofessional and that she wanted all of her money back. Let me repeat. She claimed that my services were unprofessional and that she wanted all of her money back. So let me dive into the complaint. I'll give you a real brief synopsis. One of her complaints is that during the planning process, many things were left undone because I took a vacation. Now, stop playing with me. I took that vacation 2 months before your wedding day. You were alerted almost 8 weeks before my vacation that this was going to be taking place. And my assistant was available to you should you have any questions, etc., etc. And I left you with a to-do list of what needed to be done, as well as alerts to check in. Her second complaint was that the wedding rehearsal started late. Well, whose fault was that, baby girl? Was not mine. I was on time. Now, I can't help that your wedding party didn't show up for about 45 minutes. What was I supposed to do? Go pick them up or put them on my back and walk them there? What? Stop playing with me. But of course, her biggest complaint was regarding wedding day and how the timeline just did not happen based on how I shared it with her throughout the planning process. Well, of course that didn't happen, sweetheart, baby girl, my love. It didn't happen because you were in the closet having a panic attack. I did everything that I possibly could on that day, working with the creative partners, the vendors, to try to make everything happen the way we had it on the timeline. Like I said, it was an hour and 15 minutes late for the start of the ceremony. So that meant the timeline was actually going to not actually work based on how we had put it together. All right. So I read through the complaint. I share it and I talk about it with some of my peers. I spoke about it to my father because I was so upset. For one, I had never got a complaint such as that. And let alone for you to complain and ask for your money back as if I didn't do a whole bunch of work on your wedding day and also prior to your wedding day. Needless to say, I contacted the photographer and I'm venting. And he says, well, hey, Desiree, I have a photograph of her actually in the closet. Y'all remember that? Remember I told y'all the photographer took a photo in the closet? Never dawned on me that this man had a photograph. And one thing about professional photography, those images are time-stamped. And you could easily see that at the start of the ceremony, the start time on my timeline, that she was in the closet on the floor doing whatever she was doing. 2 minutes, I said it, 2 minutes after the ceremony was supposed to start. So I gathered my thoughts. I crafted a lovely, lovely professional response. I shared images, especially that one in particular that the photographer had shared with me. And I sent that to the Better Business Bureau, and needless to say, they closed the case, and no, she was not refunded the money. So yeah, that is one of the many stories that I have to share with you on this channel. I hope you enjoyed Lost Her Mind, because I'm coming back with another doozy for you in due time. Thank you for tuning in to The Wedding Tea, and I'll see you soon. Hey, are you still there? Great. Tune in on May 24th for the 3rd episode of The Wedding Tea, Who's Her Daddy?